The Forsaken Heir. Episode 75. Xin on the side of them frowned and asked him, "Zhai Fei, do you have ideas about that girl from the Gu family?" "No, Dad." Zhai Fei hurriedly waved his hand. "I just admire her, simple as that." Xin nodded, paused for a while, and then said, "Gu's girl is really good. If you really like her, I don't have any objection. I'm just afraid that your grandpa won't look down on Gu's family, then it will be difficult." Zhai Fei, upon hearing this, was overjoyed, and blurted out, "Dad, are you really okay?" Zaya blurted out, "Brother, are you stupid? Can't you hear that Dad is deliberately deceiving you?" "Ah!" Zhai Fei panicked, and hurriedly looked at Xin. "Dad, what do you mean?" Xin sighed and said seriously, "Zhai Fei, you are not as smart as your sister." Zhai Fei suddenly became embarrassed. Xin had a face at this time, saying, "You are the son of the Sui family and the third-generation heir of the future Sui family, and the strength of the Gu family is really not enough in front of the R family. Your grandfather will definitely not agree to it, nor do I. You will agree, don't forget, the girl from the Gu family has been engaged to Changjing's son since childhood, and I and Changjing are at odds, and I will never let you marry the girl from the Gu family in future." Zhai Fei sighed, "Dad, when did that happen? The millet is old and rotten. Besides, hasn't Changjing's son have been missing for many years?" Xin looked at him and said solemnly, "Leave aside this matter. Your grandfather once discussed with me about your marriage. He even hopes that after completing the internationalization of the Sui family, you can marry the eldest daughter of the top American family. This will be more beneficial to our overseas expansion. Domestically, it is no one who can deserve your." Zhai Fei was a little anxious and blurted out, "Dad, I don't like American women." Xin said solemnly, "This kind of thing has never been related to liking the word. It's nothing more than a pair, understand?" Zhai Fei was a little depressed at once. Ziyu on the side reminded him at this moment, "Dad, let me declare first, I don't care how you arrange my brother, but no one is allowed to influence my marriage in the future." Zhai Fei exclaimed, "Hey, Ziyu! You just sold your brother like that?" "No." Ziyu said calmly, "We are in different situations. If I find a man who can make my heart beat, I will marry him, from the Sui family. Nothing has anything to do with me anymore. In the future, I will give birth to children without the surname Su, but you are different. You are going to inherit the Sui family." Zhai Fei was speechless. The expression is very depressed. Xin looked at Ziyu helplessly, and reminded, "The premise for you to find the object is that he has to be the right one." Ziyu waved his hand, "What is the right one, does not exist. Who is this lady fancy? Who, whether he is the king of heaven, or the trafficker?" Bold dollar hit. Xin said annoyedly, "In case he is really a pauper, what can you guarantee for your life's happiness?" Ziyu curled her lips, "I don't believe it. My dignified Sui family can't afford a pauper?" Ziyu's words made Xin mad enough. He pointed to Ziyu, and said angrily, "You will also talk about this at home, dare to speak out to see if your grandpa scolds you or not." Ziyu took out her cell phone and said with a smile, "Or I am now going to give grandpa a call and tell him again in person. Hurry up and get it down." Xin hurriedly said, it's all right, I won't talk nonsense with you. Anyway, the horoscope hasn't been written yet, you two hurry up and study the matter of going to Japan, and then set off early. Zhaifei said quickly, let's do this, Dad, this matter is just as Xiao said. Let's meet the Takahashi family first, and then Ito family, as the departure time of it, I think, try to get earlier, I am now ready to let the crew. What about starting immediately after lunch? Xin nodded and said okay, you guys ready to seize the time to look at, after lunch, don't leave in a hurry. Go and report to your grandfather first. Tell your grandpa about your plans and ideas. If he doesn't have any comments, you are ready to set off. Okay, Dad. Zhaifei agreed, and then hurriedly winked at Xiao and said, Xiao, let's go. Xiao nodded and followed Zhaifei out of father's study. As soon as he came out of the study, Zhaifei blamed, you girl really owe to Sarah, why do you want to tell Dad about Sarah? Xiao chuckled, and said in a playful tone, why don't you mention it? You must have been hiding in your heart. Do you really have to accept your fate and obey the family arrangements in the future? Zhaifei sighed and said, we are from this background, and we have everything we have on the day we were born. The only part of the feeling is that you don't have autonomy. Don't you know that? Why do you still choke those words with Dad? I'm happy. Xiao said wantonly, and then rationalized it. With short hair and a resolute expression, she said, anyway, Xiao's future will never be at the mercy of anyone. Zhaifei shook his head helplessly, okay, I won't talk to you about these meaningless things. This time we are going to Japan. It may take a few days. You can quickly prepare your luggage. After dinner, let's go to Grandpa. Then, we'll be ready to leave after the report. Xiao hummed, stretched, and said lazily, hey, it's too early in the morning. I'll get some sleep when I go back to the room. Come call me. Zhaifei looked at her back and sighed heavily, Auntie, I really will take you with me, don't worry. Tokyo, Japan at this moment. Charlie had been lying down on the top terrace of Kobayashi's house all morning. Today, Paul is busy resolving the remaining lengthy legal documents with the local business department in Tokyo. Liang and Ichiro first went to the production base of the company. Although Qin Gang's medicinal materials will not arrive until the evening, Liang still needs to find out about the production base first, and then arrange the work of transferring JX Vicen in advance. In this way, after the medicinal materials arrive at night, he can start trial production directly over time. Therefore, Charlie became the most idle one. So, he sat on the deck chair on the terrace, enjoying the unique scenery and cold wind from 100 meters above Tokyo. Isak walked over at this time and said respectfully, Master, if you are idle, shall we go out in the afternoon? Ginza and Shinjuku in Tokyo are very famous. Charlie waved his hand, I have nothing to do with shopping. You go with Mr. Orville. Isak smiled and said, I have something to go shopping with him. The old master, I guess, is holding back his energy and wants to try Japanese special place. Then let him go. Charlie smiled lightly, that thing is considered legal here, so go if you want. Isak nodded, if there is nothing wrong in the evening, let him go over and see. At noon, Charlie didn't go anywhere. He is not familiar with Tokyo, and he doesn't have a lot of favor with this particularly prosperous modern city. In contrast, he prefers Eastcliff. The city not only has advanced and prosperous modern high-rise buildings, but also has historical sites with hundreds or even thousands of years of history. The cultural atmosphere is very strong, and the foundation is much stronger than in Tokyo. However, Charlie didn't want to deprive others of the right to go shopping because he was not interested, so he sent Isak, Orville, and others out. The group of people went to the bustling Ginza in Shinjuku for a whole afternoon, and when they came back, everyone had a good harvest, carrying a lot of big and small bags. In the evening, Isak arranged for everyone to have dinner at a Chinese restaurant opened by one of his staff. After eating, Charlie didn't see anything important, so he said to Isak and Mr. Orville, "You can move around freely for a while, and you don't have to go around me." Mr. Orville asked hurriedly, "Master, do you have any arrangements for a while?" Charlie thought for a while and said, "I'll go out and walk around by myself." Mr. Orville smiled and asked, "Master, are you going to Fenjai Street? I heard that the GRLs on Fenjai Street in Japan are very punctual." Charlie waved his hand, "Forget it, I want to go to the University of Tokyo and walk around." "You should go to Fenjai Street to enjoy it yourself." "To the University of Tokyo?" Orville asked in surprise, "Master, what are you going to do there? It's not your alma mater." Charlie said calmly, "It's nothing, just want to go shopping, you don't have to follow me." Isak hurriedly said, "Master, do you want me to send you a car?" "No." Charlie waved his hand and said, "After spending a day at Ichiro's house, I want to take a walk." Seeing this, everyone no longer insisted. Charlie came out and got into the subway station next to the building alone. After seeing the route map, he took the subway to the University of Tokyo. He didn't know why he suddenly wanted to go to the University of Tokyo. Thinking about it carefully, it might be because of Nanako. Although the girl didn't have much contact with him, she was still stubborn and distressed. Charlie knew that she was not in Tokyo, but knew that she was a student of Tokyo University, so he wanted to take a walk and take a look where she went to school. At the same time, a luxury business jet modified by Boeing 737 took off from Eastcliff Airport. Zhaifei, Zai's brother and sister, and more than a dozen of the Sui family members departed to Tokyo together. The Takahashi family, who had received the news in advance, was very excited about the decision of the Sui family to meet them first. The main members of the family had already been waiting at Tokyo Narita Airport in advance. At the same time, they also booked the best rooms in Tokyo's most stylish hotel, Amon Hotel Tokyo, in accordance with Zai's requirements. And Yuhiko Ito also received the news. After learning that the representative of the Sui family had to meet the Takahashi family first, he was furious. Coupled with the fact that Charlie had taken $4.5 billion yesterday, it has been stuck in his mind. The two things superimposed on each other, making him even more angry. After dropping more than a dozen pieces of precious porcelain in a row, he secretly vowed that if he didn't get the chance to cooperate with the Sui family this time, he would make Charlie pay double the price. Ito's anger did not come from hypocrisy or narrow-mindedness. During this time, he has been feeling upset. First, the beloved daughter was seriously injured, and then the future son-in-law Jiro disappeared inexplicably. Immediately afterwards, he spent $4.5 billion and planned to invest in Kobayashi Pharmaceutical. The contract was signed and the payment was made. Then, Ichiro suddenly returned and unilaterally declared the investment contract he had signed invalid. Then, Charlie strongly stated that there were no shares, and the $4.5 billion would not be refunded. Ito Uehiko lived so big, he thought he had never seen such a brazen person. If it wasn't for this kid who seemed to be really strong, plus the Sua family was about to come to Japan to discuss cooperation, Ito Uehiko would really want to kill Charlie immediately. But he did a great deal of tolerance for the Sua family's arrival, but the first stop of the Sua family's visit to Tokyo was not to discuss cooperation with himself, but to find his enemy, the Takahashi family. At this moment, Ito Uehiko's mentality collapsed. What happened? Why have I encountered so many problems recently? Is it to go to the temple to burn incense, worship Buddha, and eat vegetarian food for a few days? Seeing him fury, Tanaka did not dare to come up to persuade him for a long time. Until Ito Uehiko had enough vent by himself, Tanaka Koichi leaned forward and said, "Chairman, you don't have to be so angry about this matter. Even if the Sua family gets in touch with the Takahashi family first, it doesn't mean anything. I have received their message, they will visit the house in the morning the day after tomorrow. We still have a chance." Uehiko Ito said with a black face, "For this kind of thing, it is very important for the Sua family to choose whom to meet first. It is as if you are talking about a girlfriend in Osaka, and at the same time you have work matters to go to Osaka. Your girlfriend should go to work first, which determines which is more important in your mind." Hiroshi Tanaka said embarrassingly, "President, love and career are not the same things." Ito Uehiko said angrily, "Then treat you as a playboy. You have two lovers in Osaka, and now you go to Osaka to see them separately, then I ask you, will you choose to see your favorite one first, or first see the one you don't like that much?" Hiroshi Tanaka hurriedly said, "It may also be that I like both, but I can't meet at the same time, so there must always be an order. If don't know how to choose, maybe I will use lottery or guess coins. It's decided in a way, so it doesn't necessarily represent who I see first, who I like more." Takehiko Ito raised his leg, kicked Hiroshi Tanaka distractedly, and blurted out, "Go on, I use you to comfort me here? Why should I go?" Hiroshi Tanaka stepped back a few steps, and said, "Mr. President, I'm right outside the door. If you have anything, please call me." At the same time, Charlie has come to the campus of the University of Tokyo. Although the styles of this city are quite different, the University of Tokyo, like East Cliff University, is one of the top universities in Asia, naturally with a strong academic atmosphere and a sense of sacredness. Charlie is a very knowledgeable person, but it is a pity that he did not have the opportunity to receive a complete higher education. This has always been a great regret in his heart. Back then, one of his parents graduated from East Cliff University and the other from Tsinghua University. When he was a child, he would often follow his parents to visit these two universities, or accompany his parents to participate in some activities of their alma mater. In the past, he always felt that he would definitely choose one of East Cliff University and Tsinghua University in the future. After finishing his undergraduate degree, he would choose a top business school from around the world to study in business management. The heirs of most big families basically follow this line. Because the members of the big family are also very clear in their hearts that the more they are born in the big family, the more they have to improve their comprehensive abilities, otherwise, they are very likely to be left out or eliminated by the family. Among the top 10 families in Eastcliff, as long as they are young heirs of the right age, it is impossible for anyone to have never studied at university. Of course, Charlie is the only exception. If Charlie is not included, the ratio for undergraduates is 100%, and the ratio for postgraduates is also 100%. Even those people who immediately devote themselves to the family business as soon as they graduate from university will spend their spare time studying for a master's degree in MBA. It is a pity that Charlie is now 26 years old, and he knows very well in his heart that it is impossible for him to return to school to study for a university or for a master's degree, so this has become his eternal regret. At the University of Tokyo, you can see young people of different skin colors everywhere, dressed in simple and plain clothes, carrying school bags or holding textbooks, and many people appear to be in a hurry. At first he was still surprised, and seeing the Chinese New Year in more than half a month, why didn't Japanese universities have holidays? After thinking about it, he realized that although Japanese culture was deeply influenced by China and the Japanese people also celebrated the Lunar New Year in the early years, after the Meiji Restoration, the Japanese tried to escape from Asia and enter Europe, so they changed the New Year from the lunar calendar to Gregorian calendar. Therefore, the biggest and most solemn festival in Japan is actually New Year's Day. And now, the University of Tokyo seems to have entered the eve of the winter vacation, and the students are actively preparing for the exam. When Charlie strolled around the campus of the University of Tokyo, he couldn't help but think of Nanako studying at this university. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, it would be hard to imagine. A girl who looks so weak is not only a top student from the University of Tokyo, but also a powerful Sanda fighter. This girl is really full of very polar contradictions. When he approached the library, Charlie was even on the street light pole and saw Nanako's support poster. The poster has a photo of Nanako wearing a school uniform, and her smile is really eye-catching. The content on the poster is to call on students from the University of Tokyo to support Nanako in participating in the Oris Hill International College Sanda competition. They even labeled Nanako as number 1, pride of Japanese women and a strong contender for Olympic gold medals. Charlie looked at it and couldn't help shaking his head. These labels are all put on by classmates who have high hopes for Nanako. However, these labels have also caused moral kidnapping of Nanako to a certain extent. It's like telling Nanako all the time that you must win, or else I'm sorry for the strong expectations of us all. Compared with this kind of utilitarian support slogan, Charlie feels that it is better to simply say to her, "Just work hard, and we will support you even if you fail." Thinking of this, Charlie shook his head and sighed, took out his mobile phone, and procured this cinema poster as a souvenir. Seeing that it was not too early, and it was completely dark, he stepped out of the University of Tokyo. After leaving the university, on the roadside, a girl who sang with a guitar attracted his attention. There are many people playing piano and performing arts on the streets of Japan, but this girl plays and sings a Chinese song. This song is Pu Shu's Ordinary Road. The phrase "I have crossed the mountains and the sea, and also through the sea of people, everything I once possessed, all of a sudden disappeared like smoke." It suddenly hit Charlie's heart, making him stop. This girl looks like she is about 20 years old. She is a little thin and not long enough, but she is pretty. The little girl can sing very well, but many Japanese people passing by, probably because they don't understand, they pass by her indifferently, without even looking at her. And the guitar box in front of her contained only a small amount of yen. If converted into RMB, it might not add up to 50. Charlie inferred from the little girl's pronunciation that the girl should be Chinese, so after the girl finished singing the song, he asked, "Is it Chinese?" The little girl nodded, smiled sweetly, and said, "I am from Sichuan province. Are you also Chinese?" Charlie smiled and said, "I am from Oris Hill." After speaking, Charlie asked her, "Are you working or living in Japan? Going to school?" The little girl pointed to the University of Tokyo not far away, and smiled, "I study here, occasionally come out to sing and make some money to subsidize living expenses." Charlie nodded, took out the wallet from his pocket, took out about 100,000 yen, and put it in the guitar case in front of her. The girl was taken aback, and hurriedly waved her hand, "Sir, you don't need to give so much money." Charlie smiled slightly, "It is a pleasure to meet a compatriot in another country." With that said, afraid that the girl would return the money to him, he turned around and left. At this moment, several young Japanese men came to the girl. One of them snatched her guitar, and yelled, "Who asked you to sing here? Tell us." Bunkyo has the runaway group said hello? Also, what song are you singing now? Are you looking for death? Japan is a country where gangs are legal, and there are various gang organizations in the society of this country. The famous movie star Jackie Chan once starred in a movie called Shinjuku Incident. The story background in the movie is the Japanese gangster. In Japan, the Yamaguchi Formation and Inagawa will naturally be the big bosses at the top of the food chain. However, not all gangsters are members of the Yamaguchi group and Inagawa. In fact, there are small-scale gang organizations in various cities and districts. These organizations generally like to call themselves rogues. The favorite thing these tyrants do is to ride a roaring motorcycle with a variety of cold weapons, and fight fiercely against others in the streets and alleys. Of course, more often it is actually bullying the soft and fearing the tough, and bullying the market. The girl who played and sang, seeing a few rioters getting trouble with her, hurriedly begged, "Sorry, don't know this is your site, I won't come next time, please forgive me this time." "Aren't coming?" The gangster who snatched the girl's guitar sternly reprimanded, "If every unruly person can get away with just one sentence if he won't come next time, where do we put the face of Wenjing gangster?" The girl asked nervously, Then how can you let me go?" The mobster glanced at the cash in the guitar case in front of her. It was obvious that there were at least 100,000 yen here. For these idle mobsters, this was a lot of wealth, enough for them to spend a day or two. Therefore, he sneered, "It's easy to let us let you go, leave the guitar and the money." The girl bit her lip, hesitated for a moment, then said with tears, "Okay, I will give you the guitar and the money." Another violent clan immediately reached out and grabbed all the money, greedily put it in his pocket, then winked at the other people, and said, "Brothers, there is something tonight. Go to the bar to have a good night." The girl choked up and asked, "Then can I go?" The mobster with the guitar looked at the girl up and down, and said with a wry face, "Don't go. I think you look good, so let's take your guitar and sing a song to the brothers, and then go to the bar with your brothers for a night." "No." The girl took a few steps back subconsciously, turned around and wanted to escape. Unexpectedly, the man suddenly rushed over, grabbed the girl by the wrist, and sneered, "Want to run? Don't ask me who Onizuka Ryaji is." Passers-by cast their curious and lively gazes, but Onizuka Ryaji immediately shouted, "What are you looking at? The Bunkyo runaway group does things, and who is not afraid of death, just stand still." As soon as these words came out, the passers-by who were onlookers suddenly became scattered. This society seems to be highly polite, but in fact everyone is indifferent. This kind of indifference is polite on the surface, but shunned by the heart. No one wants to cause trouble to others, let alone trouble themselves. Therefore, naturally no one is willing to do what is right at this time. Just when Onizuka Ryaji was proud of everyone's avoidance, a gloomy voice rang in his ear, "Let her go." Onizuka Ryaji turned around and followed the reputation. Seeing that it was the man who had just given the girl 100,000 yen, he sneered, "Do you still want to be a hero to save the beauty? Do you know that I am from the Bunkyo gang?" Charlie said indifferently, "I don't bother to care which group you belong to. If you don't let her go, you will do it at your own risk." Onizuka Ryaji laughed presumptuously, and gritted his teeth, "You don't even look at Bunkyo's runaway group, boy, you are dead today." The girl was shocked and hurriedly shouted, "Sir, go away. They are all members of the runaway group. The Bunkyo runaway group is the largest violent organization in the entire Bunkyo district, and you can't afford them." Charlie touched his nose, looked at Onizuka Ryaji and said with a smile, "I heard that there are 23 districts in Tokyo. Doesn't that mean that there are at least 23 groups in Tokyo like your Bunkyo Bandit one?" Onizuka Ryaji asked angrily, "So what? Our Bunkyo runaway group ranks in the top 5 in Tokyo. Can you afford it?" Charlie snorted, "You can't provoke it or not, I will know after you provoke it." Another mobster shouted angrily, "Boy, you are too arrogant." Onizuka Ryaji winked at those people and shouted sharply, "Kill him to death." When the other people heard this, they immediately pulled out the forearm iron rods from their waists, swarmed up, and rushed towards Charlie. These people, without exception, are all ordinary gangsters, and their strength is almost equal to zero in Charlie's eyes. Therefore, he was not afraid of so many people rushing to him at once. At this time, the girl who was caught tightly by Onizuka Ryaji shouted, "Sir, be careful! Run! Run!" Charlie smiled, dignified, "Boy, how can you run?" After that, his eyes suddenly became cold. Immediately afterwards, the 4 people who rushed towards him suddenly felt a flower in front of them, only that Charlie's right leg seemed to move very fast, kicking 4 feet in an instant. Before they could see Charlie's figure clearly, their abdomen was hit by a huge force. All 4 of them were kicked in the abdomen by him. The whole person immediately flew out uncontrollably, all in a parabolic posture. Fell into the green belt on the side of the road. Although Charlie deliberately reduced most of his strength so as not to be directly fatal, the four of them were still severely injured. They fell into the green belt one by one, and couldn't get up at all, as if they were kicked. Half-life. Onitsuka and the girl who was caught by him looked dumbfounded. Especially Onizuka. He never dreamed that Charlie had such a strong strength, and the four men were kicked when they went up. Isn't this kicking on the iron board? Thinking of this, he hurriedly took out a small dagger from his pocket, pointed it at the girl's neck, and threatened nervously, You, don't come here. Or I will kill her. Charlie said coldly, If you let her go now, I will neither beat you nor scold you. Onitsuka heard this, and his eyes revealed a kind of joy after the disaster. He was about to ask Charlie if his words counted. Then Charlie continued, I only need one of your right arms as punishment, so you can use at least one arm in the future. What? Onizuka almost collapsed. Don't hit me or scold me, just want me to have a right arm. Are you a devil? At this time, Charlie continued to say without expression, I'll give you the opportunity, but if you still resist, then I will abolish your two arms and let you even use the toilet and wipe you in the future. No. I'll count 3 seconds, consider it yourself. Onizuka felt a deep chill, and hit the sky from the soles of his feet. He had never seen someone like Charlie, such a cruel person, not only was a bit perverted with strong strength, but even spoke with a cruel strength that was countless higher than that of the Bozu clan. The rioters threaten others, it will always be you who are looking for death, and I will kill you in other unnutritious words. It is possible that the throat is screaming dumb, but in the end there is no fight at all. But isn't it like this in the arena? 3 points rely on momentum, 3 points rely on face, and the remaining 4 points rely on the means of fighting for power. But this guy, when he opened his mouth, he said lightly that he wanted his right arm. Is his arm like a motorcycle tire? Say you can remove one without blinking? Seeing that this kid was stubborn, Charlie lost his patience and said coldly, I originally wanted to leave you an arm, but you just didn't want to be on the road. If that's the case, don't blame me for being impolite. Onizuka was guilty, but yelled hoarsely, You Chinese had better keep a low profile. This is Japan. It's Tokyo. Are you afraid that my brothers will hack you to death? Charlie smiled indifferently, Your brothers? Are they all lying in the green belt? Onizuka said loudly, We have 500 people in the Bunkyo runaway group. One person can beat you into flesh with one punch. No matter how you dare to take care of your nostalgia, just wait for our Bunkyo runaway team to kill you. Charlie snorted coldly, Noisy. Don't talk about the runaway group, even if your Heavenly King Yamaguchi team comes, I won't take it seriously. Onizuka legs were frightened by Charlie's words. What's the source of this guy? He dares to talk about the Yamaguchi group with contempt? Is he really not afraid of death? He almost collapsed. He just wanted the evil star to leave quickly, so the tip of the knife pressed against the Chinese girl's neck and shouted nervously, If you don't go away again, I will kill this woman. Charlie said with a gloomy expression, If you dare to hurt her today, I want everyone in the Wenjing gang to be buried together. Onizuka is really going to collapse. Why doesn't this person eat soft and hard? Moreover, looking at his posture when he speaks, it seems that if he really hurts this girl, he will really kill all the members of the Bunkyo gangsters. What kind of perversion is this? At this time, Charlie had exhausted his patience. He grasped the zipper of the jacket with his fingers, twisted his fingertips lightly, and he directly took off the metal slider of the zipper. However, Onizuka Ryaji didn't see the movements of his hands, thinking that Charlie was just finishing his clothes. Immediately afterwards, Charlie shook his hand. Before Onizuka Ryaji recovered, he felt a sharp pain in his right hand. The pain immediately dissipated the power of his palm, and the dagger involuntarily fell to the ground. He was shocked in his heart and looked at his right hand, only to find that a piece of metal zipper pull was inserted into the back of his right hand. At this time, the girl seized the opportunity in time, her arms suddenly broke free of his restraints, and ran to Charlie quickly. At this time, Onizuka longer didn't dare to come forward and chase him. He looked at Charlie in amazement. After hesitating for a second, he immediately held his right hand, turned his head and ran. Because the girl was singing on the side of the road, facing the sidewalk, now Onizuka Ryaji ran in the opposite direction and rushed directly onto the road. Seeing that he was about to escape, Charlie immediately took a step and chased him. The girl said nervously, "Sir, stop chasing, it's dangerous." Charlie said coldly, "I have said that should have two arms, and can't break his words, so as not to let international friends not laugh at me." Onizuka Ryaji heard Charlie's remarks, his fear in his heart increased sharply, and he ran a little faster under his feet, almost trying his best to escape. Just as he rushed to the middle of the road, a car suddenly couldn't get away, hit his lap and knocked him out at an angle. After Onizuka Ryaji was hit, his whole person lost his balance completely, and he slumped to the side lane. At this time, on the side lane, a convoy composed of Rolls-Royce was passing quickly. Onizuka Ryaji suddenly became uncontrollable and rushed in front of one of the Rolls-Royces. The Rolls-Royce was too late to dodge, and then rolled over his arms. Hearing only two clear cracking sounds, the 3-ton Rolls-Royce directly broke Onizuka Ryaji's arms. Rolls-Royce braked, and then the entire Rolls-Royce team stopped. In the Rolls-Royce car that broke Onizuka Ryaji's arm, a young man with an angry expression came down. He was about 26 or 27 years old. When he got out of the car, he angrily kicked between Onizuka Ryaji's ribs. He screamed, "Fraudulent thing! Did you know there is a distinguished guest in my car? It doesn't matter if you are dead, it shocked the distinguished guest in my car, and I threw you down." Onizuka Ryaji's arms were crushed, and he wanted to die in pain, but being kicked over with this foot made him cough violently. However, he raised his head weakly and saw the man kicking him. He was so frightened that he cried and said, Mr. Takahashi, I didn't deliberately hit you. I was caught by the man behind. Chasing and rushing to escape, only then fell under your wheels, please forgive me." The young man who walked down from the Rolls-Royce is the eldest master of the Takahashi family, Ike. He had just picked up Haifei and Ziyu from Narita Airport and was about to escort them to the Amon Hotel where they were staying, but he didn't expect something like this to happen on the road. Moreover, Haifei and Ziyu were in the same car with him. He was sitting in the co-pilot and proudly introduced to the two siblings that there would never be a pedestrian running a red light in Tokyo when the Onitsuka Ryoji suddenly ran into a red light. This incident simply slapped Aiki in the face with lightning speed, and also shocked him, Zhaifei and Xiao. Fortunately, there is nothing wrong with the two of them. Otherwise, if it affects the cooperation and negotiation of the next two, wouldn't it be a mistake? Therefore, he slammed on Onizuka's body in anger and looked at Charlie who was chasing him. He pointed at Onizuka Ryoji at his feet, and asked Charlie coldly, "Did you chase this person to the middle of the road?" Charlie frowned, "It's me, do you have an opinion?" Aiki angrily roared, "Enough to live, right? Do you know who I am?" Charlie squinted his eyes and snorted coldly, "Don't know who you are, and I don't bother to know who you are. I only know that the two arms of the person under your feet are reserved in advance by me. Now you broke his two arms, so you must give me a satisfactory explanation." Aiki was stunned, and asked dumbfounded, "What did you just say?" Charlie looked at him and asked contemptuously, "What? Didn't you hear what I just said? Seeing that you dress up like a dog, do you still suffer from intermittent deafness?" At this moment, Aiki almost exploded in anger. He is the eldest son of the Takahashi family and the rising star of the family. Not only does he have an extraordinary position in Tokyo, he can be regarded as widely known even in Japan. To some extent, his status in Japan is very similar to that of the national man who was very popular in the past few years. Because of this, Aiki's character has always been rebellious. In his dictionary, there are no words for tolerance and bullying. Seeing that this young man who was about his age ignored his cardon and identity, he choked with himself, and even questioned whether he had intermittent deafness. In his opinion, it was a crime worthy of death. So, he immediately waved at the front and rear vehicles, and a dozen strong men in black suits immediately descended from a few Rolls-Royces. These people, without exception, are all bodyguards of the Takahashi family, and they are top masters. The bodyguards got out of the car and surrounded Charlie. Everyone looked at Charlie and at the same time looked at Aiki. As long as Aiki said a word, they would attack Charlie. At this time, Zhaifei and Xiao in the car exchanged glances, and Zhaifei said, "There is no fraud in this matter, right?" Xiao shook her head, "It shouldn't be. If someone really wants to do something, they will never do it on the streets of downtown Tokyo, Japan. Isn't the viaduct from the airport to the city more suitable than here?" Zhaifei relaxed, smiled, and said, "He must have a hard time hanging on his face." Just after he said that no one ran the red light, he bumped into one. After that, Zhaifei raised his eyebrows at Xiao again, "I feel that Aiki seems to be a little bit interesting to you. This kid is also very handsome. There are 5 people. Would you like to consider it?" Xiao said firmly, "I would never consider Japanese men." "Why?" Zhaifei said, "Japanese men are at least similar to Chinese men, with less body hair and no body odor. If you change to men from Europe, America, Latin America, and Africa, that would be indescribable." Xiao curled her lips, "Don't say I haven't thought about falling in love now. Even if I fall in love, I must find a pure Chinese." Zhaifei asked again, "Why?" Xiao said indifferently, "When two people get along, they have the same culture, the same tradition, the same habits, and the same cognition. It will save a lot of worry. If I tell my boyfriend, I want to go to Dunhuang to have a look at Majao Grottos, he replied to me, where is Dunhuang? What is Majao Grottos? I can slap him to death. Zhai Fei laughed, my dear sister, don't have such a strong character. Is it okay to beat your boyfriend at every turn in the future? Zaidu said, I'm just making an analogy with you to let you know that Chinese men and Chinese women are the best combination, so you should never blindly pursue any foreign love in the future. Zhai Fei sighed and didn't want to continue talking about this topic. Instead, he looked out the window and saw that Charlie was surrounded by so many bodyguards, and his expression was not scared at all. He couldn't help but smile. This Japanese guy, he is kind, surrounded by so many bodyguards, I'm not afraid at all. Zaiyu nodded and hummed, maybe your brain is not so good? Zhai Fei smiled and said, don't say it. This Japanese guy is pretty handsome. Zaidu smacked his lips, pray that he won't be beaten and disfigured by Ike Takahashi later. Zhai Fei helplessly, why is your mouth so poisonous? Zaidu asked back, do you know me from the first day? At this moment, Ike was looking at Charlie coldly. He wanted to give an order to let people beat Charlie to death. However, after all, this place is near the University of Tokyo in a downtown area. So many people watched it. If it is done publicly, all kinds of public relations will be inevitable in the follow-up. In addition, there are two distinguished guests in the car, especially Zaidu, who is quite appetizing of him, and he has to maintain sufficient demeanor in front of her. If he shows the overbearing and violent side, it will definitely affect her impression of himself. So, he looked at Charlie, snorted, and said, "Hi up, boy, today is your lucky day, I don't want to be familiar with you, you kneel and knock me 3 heads, this matter is over." Charlie seemed to hear a joke, "You seem to be a little confused about the situation. The crux of the problem now is that you still owe me 2 arms. You." Ike was really convinced, and he thought to himself, it's kind to give this kid a way to survive, but he ran into the road to death. If I take advantage of the situation to beat him, no one will blame me? Thinking of this, he gritted his teeth and said, "Good boy. I give you face, not to make you cheek. Since you don't want your face, then don't blame me for being impolite." After speaking, he immediately shouted at the bodyguards, "Hit him for me." As soon as the voice fell, a thin girl suddenly rushed into the crowd. It was the girl who was playing and singing on the street. The girl rushed in and stood in front of Charlie, blurting out, "I'm sorry, this gentleman clashed with the mobster to protect me, and I hope you don't embarrass him." As she said, she bowed to everyone. At this time, Charlie directly stopped the girl and said lightly, "These people are not worth your bow to them, go and wait. He is Ikitaka." The girl shed tears anxiously, "He is one of the most powerful second-generation rich in Tokyo. If you mess with him, you will have a lot of trouble." Charlie said lightly, "I don't care if he is a high bridge, a low bridge, or a dangerous bridge. He owes me 2 arms today, and he must return it." Having said that, Charlie gently pushed her, and said, "Hurry and hide, otherwise if I am distracted and injured because of protecting you, you must be upset, right?" The girl was pushed out by Charlie and subconsciously wanted to break in again, but when she thought of Charlie's words, she suddenly hesitated again. She saw Charlie's skill just now, knowing that Charlie is not an ordinary person. Maybe he has the ability to compete with these people, but if he is injured because of being distracted by her, then she is really to be blamed. Thinking of this, she had to stand aside nervously. The phone in her hand had already entered the emergency number, and planned to call the police as soon as the situation was wrong. At this time, Xiao in the car looked at Charlie and couldn't help raising her eyebrows, and said to Zhaifei, "Hey, the Japanese guy in your mouth is actually a Chinese." Zhaifei sighed, "Since I am a Chinese, I should know the reason why a strong dragon does not suppress a snake. Why is he still against Ike? This kid has a bit of a tiger character." Xiao shook his head and said regretfully, "This guy looks pretty good, but I didn't expect his brain to not work well." Seeing that Charlie was surrounded by so many bodyguards, Xiao had determined in her heart that he was in a disaster today. However, she had no sympathy for Charlie. Because she didn't see the whole cause of the incident, she only saw Charlie desperately chasing a man on the road, causing the man to be hit by a car, and then his arms were broken by the car. Just so, it was already a bit bloody and cruel, and she didn't expect Charlie to accept it before seeing it, and even choked with the young master of the host family. It was simply a brain problem. At this time, Ike saw that the time had been delayed for a long time, and his endurance had been completely exhausted. He immediately ordered his opponents, "Fight me. Only one breath left. Together with this person under my feet, you will be thrown into the rubbish heap." More than 10 bodyguards gathered around Charlie for a long time, waiting for these words. With an order from Ike, they quickly rushed to Charlie, and everyone tried their best for fear of falling behind. After all, Charlie is only one person. In their eyes, this is the standard of more monks and porridge. Everyone is a top master. If anyone is a little slower, this kid may notice them. In that case, those who lag behind will have no chance to show their strength in front of the young master. Seeing so many people surrounding Charlie, Takahashi suddenly shrank the encircling circle, and a sneer of mockery was wiped from the corner of his mouth. "A little man, dare to confront Ike on the streets of downtown Japan. Isn't this a death-seeking thing? It's a pity that, as the eldest master of the Takahashi family, it is not convenient for me to personally shoot in front of so many people. Otherwise, I really want to destroy you by myself." Ike was expecting to see Charlie's dying appearance immediately, but he didn't expect that a few screams of horror and pain suddenly came from the encircling men made up of more than 10 masters. Immediately afterwards, several people on the periphery of the encirclement circle flew out one after another. "What? Pain? This kid, is he a human?" Accompanied by these few hoarse roars, several people flew out, and then fell heavily to the ground. One of them flew to the feet of Ike in a daze. The subordinate was grabbed by Charlie's in the neck and threw him out directly, so he lay heavily on Ike's feet, and with a bang, Ike was startled. Immediately afterwards, the man raised his head with great difficulty. His forehead was already full of blood. The man looked at Ike with extremely painful eyes, and said, young master." Immediately after that, there was a pop, and a large cloud of blood mist was ejected from the mouth. This large mass of blood mist was sprayed on Ike's vamp and trouser legs, and the white trousers were completely stained red with blood. Ike hurried back half a meter in fright, and saw that his subordinate said in great pain, "Mr. That fraudulent, so awesome." After finishing talking, he lay down on the ground again with a loud boom, completely losing consciousness. Ike felt that his brain was instantly energized with high voltage. What happened? These bodyguards are top masters. Even master of masters. Why did he get down on the ground like a waste in front of that kid? Before he could understand the situation, several other people were also defeated by Charlie one after another. These so-called masters fell to the ground one after another, just like a bowling pin that was hit by a bowling ball. Suddenly, besides Charlie, only Ike Takahashi stood alone. Zhaifei and Xiao in the car were also shocked. Zhaifei swallowed his saliva and exclaimed, "This kid is too strong." Xiao was also dumbfounded, and blurted out, "He is indeed a top expert, it seems that I underestimated him just now." At this moment, Charlie had already put down all the bodyguards and walked towards Ike. While Ike was trembling with fright and his legs were weak. He wanted to escape, only to find that his legs didn't listen at all. And he knew very well in his heart that this guy was so powerful that he couldn't escape it. So, he could only say in horror, "What do you want? I tell you, I am the youngest of the Takahashi family." Charlie went up and slapped Ike's face severely, and said coldly, "I care what bridge master you are, now let's talk about what you owe me 2 arms." Ike was dizzy by Charlie's slap. He grew up. He has always been spoiled, pampered, and held in the palm of the hand by countless people like stars holding the moon. When has he been beaten? Moreover, he was slapped in the street. This is really shameful. Ike Takahashi clutched his swollen face, gritted his teeth and roared, "Do you dare to hit me? Beware that I want your life." Charlie stretched out his hand and patted his face, and said faintly, "It's just a skin test for you." I said, "You owe me 2 arms." After all, Charlie didn't bother to talk nonsense with him, grabbing his right wrist directly, and shaking his hand was just a twist. Immediately after hearing a click, Ike's right arm had broken from the elbow, and his pain was so great that he cried, his nose and tears flowed, "It hurts, my arm hurts so much." Up. Charlie remained unmoved, and said, "This is just 1 piece, you still owe me 1, come on, stretch out your left hand." Ike was trembling in pain, and his face was extremely pale. He really realized that Charlie hadn't joked with him this time. Panicked, he knelt on the ground with his knees soft, crying and begging, "Brother, I'm sorry, it's me. I shouldn't be entangled with you, please forgive me, don't take my left arm, it will be a waste, I beg you." Charlie said with a grim expression, "Everyone is an adult, and you have to be brave enough to bear it, instead of kneeling down and begging for mercy." After speaking, Charlie asked again, "Do you think that if you ask me, I will spare you?" Ike was almost shocked. What is this guy going to do? Does he really want to scrap both arms? In that case, wouldn't he be a useless person? What if he turns around and kills him? Thinking of this, he wailed loudly, and pleaded with trepidation, "Sir, I am willing to pay you a sum of money, how about 100 million yen? As long as you nod your head, I will give you money. Charlie said coldly, don't talk about these useless things, even if you give me 100 billion, you can't keep this arm. At this time, Xiao in the car couldn't stand it anymore, and said, brother, we can't just sit back and watch this matter, otherwise it won't be justified. Man? Haifei blurted out, are you crazy? Didn't you see the strong power of this kid? What if he even beats you? Xiao said earnestly, I'm going to reason with him, or know it with affection and move it with reason, otherwise we will sit in the car and watch Ike Takahashi being deposed, which is not in line with the justice of the world. Oh, no. Safety first. Haifei was persuading. Xiao had already opened the car door and went straight out. Seeing that Charlie didn't move at all, Ike felt that he was going to be cold today. Because at this time, he is no longer available. Even if he is now calling a master from the family to help, it is too late. When Ike Takahashi was desperate, the door of the car next to him suddenly opened. Xiao stepped out of the car and said to Charlie, you gentleman, you are Chinese. You have to be forgiving. You don't understand the things? Charlie didn't expect that someone would dare to give this Ike a head start. Moreover, she is still a woman. He frowned and looked at Xiao, and asked in a cold voice, you should be Chinese too when I hear you? Why want to intercede for this little kid? Xiao said blankly, I'm not pleading, I just advise you not to be a man in the wild, you should stay in the line of everything. Charlie smiled and asked her, just now, he asked those dozen or so people to gang up on me, why didn't you stop him and persuade him to stay a line in everything? Xiao was stunned by Charlie's question. Just now, a thought flashed in her mind, if Charlie couldn't hold it and his life was in danger, she would definitely have to come down and stop Ike. However, she knew very well in her heart that he would definitely not believe what she said now. So she opened the mouth and said, a dozen people beat you up, haven't you been injured? Since you are not injured, why don't you leave some room for the other party? Charlie sneered and asked, he doesn't give me the room, why should I give it to him? Xiao blurted out, you gentlemen, let's just talk about things. What happened just now was that you made a mistake first. This is the main road, not your back garden. You chasing and fighting people on this road are inherently wrong. First, and after that person was chased by you, he was finally crushed by this car. Charlie smiled and said, then I ask you, do you know why I chased that kid just now? Xiao said coldly, don't know, I don't want to know, don't say anything else, you chase each other on the street, this itself is very rude. Having said that, Xiao said again, you were wrong in this matter, but you did it to Mr. Takahashi for no reason, and you still attacked him for no reason. This is justified, right? Charlie snorted, girl, I don't think you are like a treacherous person, why do you want to defend two idiots? And there are still two? SCM? Xiao asked back, then I ask you, why are the two SCM in your mouth? One was chased by you and caused a car accident, the other was crippled by you? Charlie said disdainfully, the term fake pious, used on a superficial person like you, could not be more appropriate. Xiao was a little angry, but asked, hey, what did you say? I'm superficial? Charlie nodded, Yes, and very superficial. After a pause, Charlie said again, the more superficial people, the more they believe what they see. Let's not talk about what evil this kid who was crushed by the car did, just say that this guy with the surname Takahashi gets off the car. Just pretend to be non-stop with me and let so many people work on me together. Do you think this person is innocent? If I were a little less skilled, I would have been beaten to death by those bodyguards a while ago. Zayu's angry chest continued to rise and fall, and said angrily, I just want you to be forgiving. You have broken one of his arms. Isn't that enough? Not enough. Charlie said blankly, I just said, I will have two. You. Zayu was really angry. She didn't expect this kid to be so defiant. In fact, she also knew that Ike had the current fate, and he was to blame. But she still hoped that Charlie could stop here by moving with affection and reasoning, and don't really scrap both of Ike's arms. Although Zayu is not very old, she received elite education from a young age and stayed in the United States for many years, so she can be regarded as a standard business genius. Therefore, she has an account in her heart for what she does. For example, this time, as the representative of the Sua family, she came to discuss cooperation with the Takahashi family. Before the cooperation was discussed, Ike was beaten as a useless person. If she sits idly by, it would be inappropriate to not say anything about it. Not only does it seem that she is not very righteous, but it also affects the specific details and progress of the subsequent two talks about cooperation. Therefore, she has come to stop him with emotions, reasoning, and interests. Even if she didn't use it to block forts, Ike was still abandoned by Charlie, at least she had tried hard, and she could have an explanation for her heart in the face of the Takahashi family. Of course, the best situation is that after she comes forward, the young man in front of her can give her some respect, and when she sees it, she will take care of Ike. In this way, not only can she live well in his heart and face, the Takahashi family will also owe her a favor. When she discussed the specific details of the cooperation later, she can even use this to ask the Takahashi family to sell more and get multiple benefits. However, what she did not expect was that the hostility in this kid's temper was so heavy. Seeing his posture, he must abolish Ike. So, she suppressed the anger in her heart and said, You gentlemen, I am from East Cliff. Before she finished speaking, Charlie interrupted her directly and said with a little dissatisfaction, You lady, you don't need to tell me who you are, and I don't want to know, let alone try to suppress me with your identity. Because even if you are a heavenly king, I won't give you half-face in this matter today, have you heard me clearly? Zayu's mood was a bit untenable. Since childhood, no one has dared to speak to her in this tone. She has long been accustomed to the feeling of being respected and complimented wherever she goes, but she did not expect that the guy in front of her would really not give any face. He didn't even let her finish speaking. The urge in Zayu's heart was immediately ignited by Charlie. She snorted and said angrily, I'll take care of this matter today. If you dare to move him, I will definitely make you regret it. Charlie smiled playfully, make me regret? Zayu said confidently, yes. As soon as Zayu finished speaking, she heard a click from the side, and then, Ike's miserable cry came out. She immediately looked at Ike, and saw that his left arm had obviously been twisted by Charlie, now with both arms shrugged in front of her, crying loudly in pain. Xiao looked at Charlie angrily, and shouted, "What is going on with you? You must have trouble with me?" Charlie shook his head, "Don't be affectionate. Don't know you at all. Why should I have trouble with you? You are air in my eyes." After all, Charlie didn't bother to look at the two of them again, took back all the money he had robbed from the singing girl from the pocket of Onizuka Longer, who was lying on the ground, and then turned around and came to the singing girl. "Take the money away and don't come out to play or sing in the future." The girl whimpered with grateful tears and choked, "I'm sorry, I'm causing you trouble." Charlie shook his head and said, "If you are in a foreign country, you must take care of yourself. I'm leaving now." After that, he turned and left the scene. Xiao was so angry that she clenched her fists, staring at his back, and shouted, "Stop for me!" Hearing Xiao's angrily shouting behind him, Charlie dismissed it without turning his head. Xiao grew up so big and had never been so despised, so she was naturally very angry. There are almost no girls in the East Cliff wealthy family who are not self-righteous, but they are just about the importance. Xiao is regarded as the top existence in East Cliff, and even among the wealthy daughters in the country. Therefore, both self-esteem and self-righteousness are slightly higher than ordinary people. Therefore, being despised by Charlie without looking back, made her whole popularity stomp straight. However, she was also very clear in her heart that she was not Charlie's opponent at all, and she was not familiar with his life in Tokyo. There was no other way except to get angry. Just as Xiao was very angry, Ike shrugged his two broken arms and came to Xiao and the girl who sang. His expression was extremely gloomy, staring at the girl who sang, and asked viciously, "Say, who is that guy? What is his name, where does he live, and what is his background?" The girl said with some horror, "I don't know that gentleman." Takahashi yelled angrily, "Do you think I'm a 3-year-old kid? You don't know if you don't know me? If you don't tell me honestly, I will kill you." Xiao glared at him and said coldly, "Mr. Ike, it's not appropriate to yell at a little girl, right?" Ike came back to his senses a little bit, suppressing the anger in his heart, gritted his teeth and said, "Miss Su, you saw it just now, that fraudulent took my arms." Xiao said blankly, "Yes, I saw it. It was the man who abolished your arm just now. What does it have to do with this little girl? You don't know what is wronged and indebted? Let's talk about it. The injury on your arm can be recovered after 3 or 5 months of care after a plaster cast. Is it such a lack of grace? No manner." Ike couldn't hide his anger. This girl is obviously related to that man. As long as she honestly tells me the man's information, I will naturally not embarrass her. Xiao glared at him and said angrily, "This girl has said enough. If you don't know that man, don't you understand?" Ike said angrily, "Who knows if she is lying?" Xiao said coldly, "Whether she is lying or not has nothing to do with you. If you want to ask for more details, you can ask others for advice. If others tell you, it's your duty. Don't tell you. It threatens the personal safety of others at every turn. Don't you remember what happened just now?" Ike Takahashi's expression was hard to look at all of a sudden. He knew that Zaya was reminding him not to be too arrogant. The reason why he offended the man just now was entirely because he was too arrogant. Not only did he curse, he also asked the bodyguard to deal with him, and it ended up like this. Zaya's words made him feel very shameless on his face. However, on the one hand, because the Sua family behind Zaya is much stronger than the Takahashi family, on the other hand, because he has a good impression of Zaya, he can only suppress the anger in his heart at this time. Zaya asked the singing girl, "Girl, you just said you don't know that man, then why did he help you out?" "I think he took some money from the person who was hit by the car just now." "About you?" The girl said seriously, "I can tell you clearly, that gentleman is a good person. I was playing guitar and singing on the side of the road, and no one cared about it. The gentleman gave me 100,000 yen, and then the mob went around with a few violent elements, grabbed my money and guitar, and asked me to accompany them. They wanted to take me to drink. The gentleman saved me." Zaya frowned. "Is the man who was hit by the car a runaway?" "Yes." The girl nodded and continued, "They are all members of the runaway group. The gentleman saw the uneven road and injured several other violent elements. Then the runaway clan who was hit by the car took a knife to my neck. Because of me, the gentleman knocked down his knife and I was spared. Then the violent race was about to run away, and the gentleman chased him out, causing him to be hit by a car. You know the rest." After hearing this, Zaya was stunned. She did not expect that the plot would be reversed so quickly. The rebellious and abnormal young man just now was actually trying to save an innocent girl from the hands of the members of the runaway group. Moreover, that little girl is a Chinese compatriot. She could even imagine that if it weren't for the man to rescue her today, this Chinese girl in a foreign country would definitely be harmed by the mobsters, and might even be abused by them. No wonder that man shot so hard. If it were herself, she would want to abolish these people. Ike was still yelling at the other party in anger, and even let a dozen bodyguards go up and besiege the other party. From this point of view, it is not too much to have two arms scrapped. At this moment, Zaya's anger at Charlie disappeared instantly. So, she looked at the girl and asked, "Do you know where the other party is from? Which runaway group is from?" The girl hurriedly replied, "It's the Bunkyo group, the biggest violent group in Bunkyo district." "Bunkyo runaway group?" Zaya looked at Ike, and asked coldly, "Bunkyo runaway group should be an external force of your Takahashi family, right? They grabbed money from a little girl in the street and forced her to accompany them. This is too much, right?" Ike's expression was shocked, and then he couldn't hide his embarrassment and said, "Miss Su, where did you hear the rumor? Our Takahashi family has nothing to do with the runaway group." Zaya snorted and said, "Mr. Takahashi, I have investigated it clearly before I came here. Your Takahashi family started from the grey world in the early years, but later you didn't go to the black, and then washed the white in time. The transformation is very successful." After that, Zaya said again, "I know that more than half of the runaway groups in Tokyo and the surrounding areas are under your family's control, but you are very smart and did not let the Takahashi family directly control these runaways. The regiment, instead of using some distant relatives with foreign surnames, right?" Ike said embarrassingly, "That, Miss Su, these runaway groups are indeed managed by our foreign relatives, but our Takahashi family has long since ignored this business." Zayu snorted coldly, "Mr. Takahashi, everyone is an adult. Don't think of me as a fool. The reason why this happened today and the reason your arm was scrapped is entirely because of your family. Tolerate the fate caused by the rampant group's nonsense." Aiki Takahashi was speechless and wanted to refute, but he couldn't find a reason. Zayu pointed to the girl and said to Aiki, "Mr. Takahashi, this lady has nothing to do with this matter. I hope you will not trouble her in the future. Can you make that sure?" Aiki Takahashi knew that he was wrong, and did not dare to offend Zayu, so he nodded sadly, "Miss Su, please rest assured, I will never embarrass her in the future." At this time, Aiki was already angry inside. He wanted to find a clue about the man from this girl, but he didn't expect that the girl didn't even know him. Aiki knew in his heart that what the girl said was definitely not a lie, so he was afraid that it would not be so easy to find that man to settle accounts. However, what is more important right now is to send someone from the family to the hotel, and to the hospital with Zayu and Haifei. Zayu ignored Aiki, who had abandoned his arms. Instead, he helped the Chinese girl put the guitar away, then gave the other party a business card, and said seriously, "Girl, if anyone from now on dare to do what happened today, if you are in trouble, call me immediately. In addition, give my phone number to the person you trust most. If you are in trouble and can't call me in time, let the person you trust most call me." Zayu's words are more for Aiki. She knew that she would not stay in Japan for a long time at most. What if Aiki waited for her to retaliate with this girl after she left Japan? Therefore, she must make Aiki hesitate. With what she said just now, Aiki would never provoke this girl again, because the energy of the Sua family was definitely not something they could contend. What's more, the Takahashi family is bent on reaching a cooperation with the Sua family, and he has said it all. If he dares to trouble this girl, it can only show that Aiki is mentally retarded. Takahashi Aiki naturally knew what Zayu meant in his heart, and he was very uncomfortable because he couldn't come up with a depressed breath. However, no matter how uncomfortable, you have to endure it. As a result, he could only find a subordinate who could still make a call, and asked him to call home quickly. 10 minutes later, the Takahashi family brought dozens of cars. Headed by the head of the Takahashi family, Aiki's father, Maki Takahashi. Before Maki Takahashi got out of the car, he was shocked by the tragic sight in front of him and could not speak. More than a dozen bodyguards were staggering everywhere, and traffic was even blocked because of them. His own son's face was swollen and half of his face was drawn. What's worse, his two arms had completely lost control, and he was shrugging pitifully. With a dark face, he apologized to Zayu and Haifei first, and sent someone to send them and their entourage to the hotel. Arranged for the Sua family, he then ordered people to take his son and other people into the car and go to the hospital. On the way, Maki Takahashi asked Aiki carefully about the whole process. After listening, he was even more speechless. After a while, he slapped the central armrest of the car fiercely, and shouted angrily, "What a J3RK! A foreigner dares to hurt my son and a dozen bodyguards in Tokyo. This is a trampling on the dignity of my family." Aiki was also furious and choked and said, "Father, you must find that man and kill him to avenge me." Takahashi nodded and said coldly, "Don't worry, I will let the wind go and let people find out his whereabouts." Aiki couldn't wait to say, "Father, find him, I will kill him myself." "Personally?" Takahashi asked with a frown, "Can you still kill with your hand?" When Aiki heard this, he cried and said, "Then I will let someone tie a knife to the sole of my shoe. Anyway, I must kill him myself." Maki Takahashi nodded and said, "But we can't be too fanciful about this matter. After all, we still have to discuss cooperation with the Sua family. If we want to find him in Tokyo and kill him, the Sua family will definitely have minor words in heart." Aiki suddenly panicked, "Dad! Are you going to let off?" Takahashi said coldly, "Don't worry, I will never let him go. I will let people find him first, and then let the top ninja of the family watch him secretly. No matter where he goes, he will follow him all the way. After the dust settles on our cooperation with the Sua family, we will catch that guy and quietly bring him back to Tokyo, let you execute him yourself." Hearing this, Takahashi Aiki really felt relieved. He can endure for a while for the cooperation between the clan and the Sua clan, but he must not let him go. He was relieved to hear what his father said. "As long as you can kill Charlie personally, you can wait a few more days." Moreover, he believed that to his top ninja, Charlie could never be an opponent. After Charlie left near the University of Tokyo, he went directly to Ichiro's home. He didn't know that at this moment, he was completely popular on short video app in Japan. Just now, someone who had something good taught him to the Mozu clan, and the video of him disposing of Aiki was filmed and then uploaded to the short video app. This time, the whole of Japan was shocked. No one thought that a Chinese person could have such a strong strength. One person defeated almost 20 people in a row. It was incredible. What's more, what makes people even more unbelievable is that this person dared to do something on Aiki on the streets of Tokyo. As Japan's top rich second generation end, who doesn't know Aiki? He was beaten up as a ghost on the streets of Tokyo. This is simply the most explosive news in Japan in recent times. In this video, Charlie and Aiki, because it was late and the mobile phone video was not very clear, they could only take 50% of their looks clearly, and the quality was comparable to those videos released by paparazzi night celebrities. The photos are similar. However, the picture is enough for the Japanese people to recognize Aiki. As for Charlie, because the Japanese people didn't have any idea about him, so when the video was released, the Japanese couldn't recognize him. However, if you are a little familiar with Charlie, you can still recognize Charlie's identity from this video. Ito Takehiko was sitting in his study at this time, bored with a Cuban cigar and a glass of scotch in his hand. He was still annoyed at the first meeting of the Sua family with the Takahashi family, and even more worried about Charlie. His mood was naturally bad. At this time, Tanaka Hiroshi rushed in without knocking on the door suddenly, and said anxiously, "President, something has happened." Ito Takehiko scolded annoyedly, "What big thing can make you mess like this? What kind of style is this?" Hiroshi Tanaka didn't have time to explain. He hurriedly handed the phone to him, clicked play, and said, "Let's take a look, it's the big news of the Takahashi from the family." Big news from the Takahashi family. As soon as Ito heard this, he immediately glared. What big news! Did the Sua family announce their cooperation with them so soon? Shouldn't it? The Sua family should have just landed in Tokyo. How could it be? Are they making a decision so quickly? Don't these beasts plan to meet us? Hiroshi Tanaka hurriedly said, It's not this news, it's Ike Takahashi who was scrapped on the street. Ike was abolished. Ito Takehiko blurted out like a lightning strike, who did it? In his impression, there are only a handful of people in Tokyo who dare to act on Ike. If you want to do it yourself, you will be frustrated. After all, the gap between the Ito family and the Takahashi family is not too big. If you really do it on Takahashi, it is almost equivalent to declaring war on that family. Therefore, except for his father, Ito Takehiko can't think of anyone else who would dare to attack him. So, he quickly looked at Tanaka's cell phone, wanting to see who was so kind. It didn't matter at this look, Ito was trembling with fright. He couldn't hold his fingers firmly, and the cigar fell out of his hand and fell on his pants. It immediately burned a hole in his expensive hand-sewn suit pants. Ito Takehiko didn't care about feeling distressed, grabbed the cigar and threw it aside, pointed at the evil-looking man on the phone, and blurted out, This, isn't this Charlie? Although he only met Charlie at that time, Ito Takehiko remembered his appearance clearly. This may be the power of hatred. After all, Charlie's face not only means humiliation to Ito Takehiko, but also represents a huge sum of $4.5 billion. He can recognize it really turned into ashes. Seeing Charlie in the video, continuously flipping Ike's more than a dozen bodyguards, and then abolished Ike's arms, Ito Takehiko couldn't help but feel his back chills. Only then did he realize how strong Charlie is. Last time, he just abolished his 2 bodyguards. This time, he simply scrapped a dozen of Ike's bodyguards in one go. With this strength, the average ninjutsu master is not an opponent either. While surprised, deep in his heart he couldn't help but fear. Fortunately, he didn't make Charlie anxious that day. Otherwise, just like Charlie's violent temper, wouldn't he just get hammered half to death? Ike is a young man. He has some physical resistance. He is too old, and he is really guilty of him. He will go directly to see Amaterasu in 1 or 2 rounds. After a while of fear, Ito Takehiko was also a little gloating. He watched Ike's screaming again and again, a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, and then reached out to drag the progress bar, and replayed Ike's unlucky process again, and the smile on the corners of his mouth became even stronger. Immediately afterwards, he played it again, and the smile at the corner of his mouth became more intense. After watching it a dozen times in a row, Ito Takehiko smiled, Okay, the Takahashi family also has it today. After this video has become popular throughout Japan, don't want the faces of their Takahashi family hide on the roads. Hiroshi Tanaka nodded and said, Now this video has become a hit on all major online and video platforms in Japan, and the reputation of the Takahashi family will definitely suffer a severe setback. Very good. Takehiko Ito exhaled happily and said, Oh, seeing this video makes me feel much better. After that, he remembered something, and said, The Takahashi family and I have never dealt with each other, but this time we finally have a common enemy. Hiroshi Tanaka said in a hurry, President, are you trying to deal with Charlie together with the Takahashi family? Of course not. Ito said with lingering fear, I am different from the Takahashi family. Ike was beaten up in the street by Charlie. It is known throughout the country. In contrast, I am much better. I was at Kobayashi Pharmaceutical that day. Although I suffered a big loss, at any rate, I closed the door and suffered a loss without letting the people across the country know. Tanaka was stunned for a while. Unexpectedly, the guild leader, who has always been a staunch personality, would be so self-comforting. At this time, Takehiko Ito said enthusiastically, this incident is bound to affect the impression and attitude of the Sua family towards the Takahashi family. This is a great thing for us. That's true. Hiroshi Tanaka nodded again and again, and said, this time the Takahashi family has not only suffered damage to their reputation, but also their ability. After all, they can be beaten like this at their own door. The Sua family must be honest, they are cooperating in ocean transportation and they will definitely worry that the Takahashi family will not be able to protect this business. Ito Takehiko smiled and said, ha ha ha, this is really the one thing that makes me most happy in recent times. When Hiroshi Tanaka saw that Ito Takehiko was in a better mood, he was relieved and said with a smile, President, I have received news that the Takahashi family is now inquiring about Charlie's identity. I guess they still want to find him out and take revenge. Ito Takehiko asked, what do you think about this? Do you think the Takahashi family can beat Charlie? When Tanaka thought of the tremendous shock and horror that Charlie had brought, he said, I really can't say this. I always have a feeling for Charlie. It feels like what we see about him, it is just the tip of the iceberg. Ito Takehiko frowned, what? Do you think that even if the Takahashi family gives it all, it is impossible to beat Charlie? Tanaka nodded and said truthfully, President, Master Wades make tricks. Whoever is stronger will have the last laugh. Charlie's strength lies here. A dozen top masters can't match him. How does that family fight him? Ito Takehiko sneered and said, don't forget, the Takahashi family also enshrines several top ninjas. The ninjutsu is so powerful, Charlie can't be their opponent. Tanaka reminded, President, even the top ninja we worship, may not be able to defeat Ike's dozen personal bodyguards so easily, right? Even if it can be played, I am afraid it will be a terrible victory, but for Charlie, it's just one-sided crushing. With that, Tanaka pulled the video progress bar back to the scene where Charlie singled out a dozen bodyguards of Ike. He pointed to the video and said to Takehiko Ito, Sir, look, these dozen people are in the hands of Charlie. In front of him, even chickens, ducks and geese can't compare with them. He almost knocked down one with a punch, kicked one with one kick. Even when the chickens, ducks, and geese are beaten by someone, they can still jump up and peck twice, but these so-called masters are absolutely waste in front of him. Ito Takehiko's expression gradually became more serious. In the video, Charlie's strength is really terrifying. It seems that these dozen masters, who are not human at all, were directly ravaged by his cruel and inhuman madness. Thinking of this, he looked at Tanaka sadly, and asked helplessly, Tanaka, you say, Our 4.5 billion US dollars, can we still ask it back? This one. When Hiroshi Tanaka faced Ito's problem, he immediately fell into a dilemma. How should I answer? Can the answer come back? If you don't come back by any chance, do you have to take the blame? Will the answer come back? Even if it was Ito Takehiko, he would run away immediately. It seems that this question is really difficult to answer. Seeing that he was stubbornly speechless, Ito shook his heart, and blurted out, "You don't think that 80% chance for the money is that it will not come back, right?" Hiroshi Tanaka quickly explained, "It's not that there is no hope. I don't think we need to be so pessimistic. It should be 50-50. 50-50? Ito Takehiko said angrily, "What is this difference between not telling me and being so ambiguous?" Hiroshi Tanaka said in a hurry, "President, there are indeed many uncertainties in this matter. I am not ready to make a conclusion now, but don't forget, no matter how bad, we can still solve the problem through litigation." Litigation? Ito pointed at Hiroshi Tanaka and cursed, "You let the dog eat your brain?" Ike was abolished by Charlie in the street and has become the laughing stock of all Japan. If I sue him for usurping my money, wouldn't it be even more laughed at by the whole of Japan if we don't give 100 million? Hiroshi Tanaka said embarrassingly, "Mr. President, this is 4.5 billion US dollars. We can't really let it go because we are afraid of being laughed at. The whole family's annual net profit can't reach this number. Yet," Ito said in a painful voice, "the recent economic downturn, our overall net profit last year was only more than 300 million US dollars. If there is not much improvement this year, maybe it will be even less. For large families or large companies, losses are common. For example, the domestic Zote automobile, their financial report shows that they have lost more than 10 billion in a year in 2019. The American General Motors Corporation, which is also in the automotive industry, has suffered losses due to poor management for years. In GM's 100-year history, the worst year is a direct loss of 38.7 billion US dollars. The international economic situation has been cold in the past 2 years, and the pressure on Ito Takehiko has been even greater. In this sluggish market environment, the development prospects of medical and health companies are actually the broadest, because people may not buy cars or houses, but they have to buy medicines. Because of this, he decided to do everything possible to invest in Kobayashi Pharmaceutical. Unexpectedly, he stepped into a deep pit. Now that 4.5 billion fell into the pit and he can't get it back, I remember him scratching his heart. Seeing that Ito was extremely depressed, Tanaka Hiroshi hurriedly persuaded, "My lord, in fact, you don't have to worry about it now. We are different from the Takahashi family. The Takahashi family doesn't even know who Charlie is, but we at least know him more. On the bottom line, knowing that he is the current owner of Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals and he is in Oris Hill, China, and he stepped back and said that even if we had to meet each other in the end, we would be able to find him. The Takahashi family is different. They may not even be able to find him." "Yes." Ito Takehiko suddenly felt his eyes light up and blurted out, "I just want them to not find him. As long as they can't find Charlie, they will always be the laughing stock of Japan." "Ha ha ha, so funny." After that, Ito Takehiko stood up immediately, lit another cigar excitedly, and took a sip, then smiled and said, "Tanaka, in my name, send a bunch of flowers and a fruit to the Takahashi family. The basket should go over and say it is sympathy and meant to disgust them." Ha ha ha. Okay, President. At this moment, Nanako, who is far away in Kyoto, is still sitting in the courtyard waiting for the heavy snow, and doesn't know if it will come. There was a sudden vibration from the phone in her pocket. After she opened it, she found that it was a push notification popped up by the app, with the title, "Ike was beaten up in the street by someone in Tokyo, and his arms abolished." Nanako couldn't help being surprised, and thought to herself, "Ike is very famous in Tokyo, why would anyone act on him in the street?" However, she didn't have much interest in Ike, and didn't want to care about this gossips, so she didn't click on it. However, as soon as the screen of the phone was locked, it immediately lit up again, and it was a push from another app. The title was similar to the one just now, except that this one added, "The mysterious man is superb and can be called the god of war." Nanako, who has a deep love for fighting and martial arts, immediately cheered up. She really wanted to see how powerful the mysterious person who was called the god of war by the Japanese media really is. Later, she turned on the phone and played the video. Charlie was surrounded by the crowd, and when she couldn't see anyone, Nanako felt very calm. When several people were quickly knocked into the air, her expression showed unconcealable shock, and she murmured, "Ike's bodyguard can't be a waiting person. It can be seen that this person is really strong." Then, she suddenly uttered an "ah," the phone couldn't be held firmly, and it fell to the ground with a snap. She hurriedly bent over to pick it up. Fortunately, the ground in the yard was not hard and the phone was not damaged. So she picked up the phone and couldn't wait to continue to look at it. Her expression became more horrified and excited. She blurted out excitedly, "Master Wade, it's really Master Wade." At this time, Nanako has become a star chaser girl. And Charlie is her natal idol. Therefore, as long as she saw Charlie, she couldn't hide the excitement in her heart. What's more, Charlie in the video is so elegant, so chic, and so domineering. Nanako, who has always been as quiet as still water, got up, the NYMPH0 who couldn't control it, and said to herself in surprise, "Master Wade is really handsome and powerful. This kind of strength is indeed a master of martial arts. No wonder. Can beat Yamamoto Kazuki-sensei with a single palm. With his strength, even if 5 Yamamoto Kazuki-sensei attacks him at the same time, I am afraid it will be difficult to win." With the extreme excitement of the young woman, Nanako watched the video several times over and over again. At this moment, she couldn't wait to rush back to Tokyo immediately and try her best to meet Charlie. However, after a while, she gave up the idea again. She knew that after Charlie abolished Ike, he would have to face the Takahashi family's targeting, and her father also has conflicts with him. If she went to him at this time, let alone whether he had the energy to see her. Just going to see him by her is likely to bring trouble to him. Nanako looked at the sky and murmured, "I only hope that Master Wade can leave Tokyo in peace. As for whether I can see him again, his safety is far more important than my wish. I hope God will bless him and Master Wade will never meet danger." Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.